Good evening, Dustin. How are you?
I'm well, Mr. Barrone. How are you?
I'm real good, real good.
Thanks for coming out tonight.
No, you also. Great opportunity.
The weather says that there's going to snow tomorrow, but I don't see any clouds.
Yeah, but we really need some. I've been
We
doing
do.
the rain and snow dance all I can. We need it so bad. The mountains are pretty
Crazy dry right now.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. How's the effort pulling down all those logs that fell down in the windstorm? Are you guys seeing a lot of that pull through the lumberyard, or?
No, not as of yet. I know the Taos Valley just brought in a big one of these really new improved machines, and they're starting to do some work up there in their area. And I think they're waiting till after the winter up in the high country, for the snow. What is it called? The Enchanted Forest.
Sure. Yeah. I saw the pictures somebody posted up the other day. It's just a crazy amount of trees just laying on the ground.
Yeah, some of them are a little bit dangerous too, because the way they broke off and the way some of them have a lot of tension in them still. So when you cut them, they spring up and there's still root balls attached and stuff. So
it looks like a real dangerous scene.
Yeah, it could be dangerous.
So I guess we're the ones who believe in showing up on time, huh?
I think Mrs. Oswald was on a few minutes earlier.
There she is.
Hi, good evening. I did say hi to you both in the chat.
Oh, I might not be technological.
That's all right. We can say hi like this. Good evening.
Yeah.
Nice to see
Good
both
evening.
of you.
You also.
Thanks for agreeing to meet online. I've been sick as a dog for the last week, you guys. It's been it's worse than advertised.
Are you getting better, Dustin?
I'm not. I keep thinking that I'm going to, and I have not. I haven't been well in a week. It's been exciting.
I hope you get better soon.
Thanks. Me too.
Yeah.
It's just crazy the way it's spreading. It's been a big impact on everybody, schools, community, businesses, everything.
Yeah, I feel pretty lucky that it took until last week for me to come down with it. We've been exposed over at the high school pretty much every week since we came back in August. So it's been dicey. I didn't think I was going to get it over the Christmas break, but it's been a rowdy week.
Oh, look, there we all are.
Hey everybody.
Hi, John.
Can we do a quick, I've heard most of you talk, I think, except for Pascualito. Can you do a quick sound check?
I'm here.
Yes, 111.
Okay.
Yes. Check.
So that's one hurdle cleared. We can all hear each other. We said we're going to start at 5:45, so we're about there. Let's see.
I like your poster, John.
Thank you. I tried to clean up my office a little bit before we started, which is kind of hard on a Monday.
Hi, Pascual.
Hi, Genevieve.
Nice to see you.
You too. It's a habit for me just to turn the mute back on.
Mm-hmm. Would you like us to do that, John?
Yeah, so yeah, just mute your mic and just remember to turn it on. when it's your turn to answer a question. And we'll get started. It's 5:45. So thank you to you all, first of all, for taking the time to be here. And thank you to the Taos County Chamber of Commerce and True Kids One for working with us on the forum tonight. Our goal here is to ensure that our voters are well informed about the candidates running for mayor this year. Just as a reminder, I think everybody knows, but early voting starts on February 1st and the election is March 1. For those of you watching and wondering why we're not all together as planned at the Kit Carson Electric Boardroom, we chose to make this forum virtual in light of how much illness is spreading in the community right now. On that note, we hope you all are staying healthy. Dustin, I know you've been a little ill. I hope you're recovering quickly, and hope everybody's doing their part to keep the community healthy during this time. The mayor of Taos, of course, plays a critical role in our town. That person is not only the face of the community, but plays a critical role in its operations. And with that, we'll get started. So the way we're going to go, I think, is how we've done it in years past. We'll go in the order you all appear on the ballot, which starts with the incumbent, Mayor Barrone, and then from there we'll go in alphabetical order. Sound good? So the first series of questions will have 2-minute answers. I'll send you a message in the comments if you're hitting like the 20-second mark, so you'll know to like wrap up your last sentence. So our first questions come from True Kids One and a student at Taos High School, Isabella O'Donnell Silverberg. She's a senior at Taos High. So Mayor Barrone, this question will go to you first. And then we'll go in alphabetical order. So Isabella says, Taos has an affordable housing problem. Not only is there a lack of affordable rentals, but real estate prices are too high for many people working in Taos to buy a home, making it very difficult for these people to make a long-term investment that keeps them here. The situation creates great challenges to continue life here in Taos for me and many of my peers. What steps would you take to incentivize students such as myself to stay in Taos and build the community here?
So Isabella, thank you for the question. Great question. You know, our biggest thing is, as we look at it, is affordable housing at the current rate. And we have continued to do the things that we can to, I guess, to minimize the impact on our community. So we did pass an affordable housing resolution, or I'm sorry, not an affordable housing resolution, but a so that we can limit the number of affordable houses that are available by. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit tied up here. By having an opportunity to really look at what our affordable housing market is doing. So we passed a resolution to minimize the number of long-term rentals. So we moved it from 600 to 120 so that there will be more opportunities for long-term rentals. We also freed up 30 lots for Habitat for Humanity to build additional houses on. And we are currently working, we just in the last day or two are working with TSV. They hired a new person there, is a private public partnership coordinator. And we do have a number of lots, a number of opportunities. The Mary Medina building. We also have a piece of property out by the Youth and Family Center that is slated to be built for affordable housing. We also built a 72-unit affordable 1, 2, and 3 bedroom complex. And we will try to do the very best we can to build and to facilitate, but we need partners. The town is not in the affordable housing market, but we can have partners in this from the county, from the Ski Valley, from the region, but we can do it by supplying the land, supplying hookups of electricity and water, so that we can move affordable housing forward for all our generations to come, because we see it as a
That's
problem.
time, Mayor.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Pascual, you're up next.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Isabella, for your question. Let me start with a little story. When I was teaching high school and Strong at Heart was taking place, Matt and community builders came into my AP economics class and asked everybody in there, how many of you would like to stay in Taos? And just about everybody raised their hand. And then he asked another question, how many of you are going to stay in Taos? And just about everybody put their hand down. And Isabella, that's because, you know, right now it's very hard to find a place to live in our home and in our community. The answer, I believe, lies in a community land trust. This is a kind of a transformational organization that the town can be a partner with, and use the land underneath the homes to keep prices stable. You know, I think Habitat for Humanity is a great program, but what happens, somebody gets in, they get to buy their first home at an affordable price, but after a few years go by, they can turn around and sell it at market prices. So what becomes an affordable home for one person really turns into a home that's sold for, I mean, now they're going for $500,000. And a community land trust would be really great because it helps keep the prices stable, and it allows the next person to come in and get an affordable home and use that mortgage payment that they pay every month to build equity. Right now, if you're in a rental or if you're in one of the low-income housing projects, you're paying your paycheck every month and then it goes away. You never see it again. And we never get people out of poverty because they're paying their paycheck and living paycheck to paycheck. So I believe the answer lies in a community land trust.
Thank you, Pascual. Genevieve, you're up next.
Thank you. I just want to say first and foremost, it's a real honor to be here tonight having this conversation with all of you. I appreciate all of these gentlemen, and I'm really happy to be involved in this conversation. And I'm really grateful that we have some questions coming from the youth, because I've been political since I was a teenager, because growing up in Taos was hard. And Isabella, thank you for this question. I'm going to answer it just a little bit differently than these other candidates, because I heard a slightly different question. It's not just about housing. And yes, the inventory of homes in our community is really substandard. And there are lots of things that we need to do to address the inventory of homes in our community. But I also heard this question as asking for how we're going to keep kids here. And that to me is, how are we going to make them excited about living here? And I have a niece who recently left town and said that Taos was a nowhere town where people went nowhere. And that's a reasonable perspective to have when the economy doesn't provide a real living and there aren't opportunities to get a really robust education and to compete in the marketplace of the world out there. So I'd like to see our community work towards having more educational opportunities, not just one four-year university, but if we could get a couple here, that would be excellent. It would be excellent to build a traditional arts and crafts school with a pipeline to work, to do more tech training like's going on at the Hive, and to also do more workforce training for laborers like welders and plumbers. Those are things I'd like to see, as well as supporting training in film, like True Kids 1. As the film industry comes to New Mexico, it would be great to get more of our kids employed there.
Thanks, Genevieve. Dustin?
Hey guys, thanks for coming out. I think the question on low-income housing within the town is actually a larger question, and I think it's one of the things Pascual is really speaking about quite a bit. It's the separation between what's happening in the county and what's happening in town. You know, a lot of housing in town is spoken for, and it's generational, and it's handed down family to family. That's not a good or a bad thing. It's just how it is. We don't have a lot of space within the town boundaries to do all of the things that we want, you know, to accommodate what was it, 1,200 families that are looking to have new places to live. There's not that much space. We just don't have it. So we need to decide what kind of housing units we want to build. And if the county wants to get in on building low-income housing, great. If the town wants to continue with its incentivization for small-scale multi-purpose homes, that's great too. I think the real important part is to focus on how those neighborhoods end up looking, so that we don't lose our sense of space. You know, there's a real style question in my mind that needs to be answered. Thanks.
Okay, so the second question Isabella had is, the pandemic has forced students to learn online, which I can tell you from firsthand experience causes many of us to feel disconnected and even depressed. And yet, on the other hand, this online world opens up important new pathways for learning and creating. In my opinion, connectivity and inspiration are essential aspects of building a healthy, thriving community. As mayor, what would you do to encourage youth to use media and technology creatively and in ways that benefit both their learning and the town? So last time we started with Mayor Barrone, so this time we would start with Pascual.
Thanks, John, and thank you, Isabella, for the question again. You are right, technology is huge, but it is a double-sided sword, right? We've all been staring at the screens for the past couple of years, and it's good to get outside sometimes. But the issue of technology in our community is a pathway for us to create economic opportunities. And I think it starts with the skill building, making sure that we are providing the right coursework in our school district to make sure that students have the skills to code, to type, to understand how the internet and how technology really work. I can tell you that I wish I had learned coding when I was a kid. I probably wouldn't be running for office. I would be working for Silicon Valley or something, because there are really great opportunities in that field. And I'm excited that you're thinking about this because it's very important. And what I would do as mayor is partner with our school district and UNM Taos to make sure that we are offering this coursework. So that way we are creating the opportunities, and also to help build an entrepreneurial mindset. Because what might be a fun game that you develop could turn into a huge multi-million-dollar business. I think about Flappy Bird. If you remember that game, Isabella, you might be a little young, but Flappy Bird was just this huge hit. It cost $1 to download and sold, I don't know how many millions and millions of games and downloads on people's phones. And whoever invented that game, super simple game, created some real opportunities for themselves. And I hope to see one of those here in Taos. Thank you.
Thanks, Pascual. Genevieve?
Thank you. Thank you for this question, Isabella. It's fun to think about the answer for you. Yeah, media is the world we live in right now, and I have watched quite a few young people really struggle with learning over the last year, not being fully engaged in the classroom environment. And at the same time, the internet makes learning so much easier because we just have so much more information available to us. And so finding a balance between using the internet and also having real relationships with the people in our lives, that's going to be important for all the young people who are growing up in this technological world. Ways that I would like to see the town encourage creative media use for students would be to support programs like TK1, which teaches kids how to use these kinds of tools and resources in a way that shares information and maybe even tells a story that's more creative and personal. I'd also like to see the town maybe participate in something that created the See Something, Say Something app, which was produced by some kids here in Taos and that was picked up by, I believe, by Verizon and has been sold and is a pretty valuable app for young people. So if we could find a way to do more creative sort of projects where we invite kids to be inventors and then we help them get their product to market, that would be really fun. I'd like to see that.
Thank you, Dustin.
Let's see. First of all, I'd say to Isabella, don't worry, you're doing great. Second piece would be, the high school and UNM are working hard to keep the digital media program going, and that's going really well. The infrastructure to support that kind of growth is here in town, and I think what the mayor's office could do is kind of lean into creating opportunities for kids to flex those skills in the public. It's not anything more than invitations to come and do things. We have a fantastic town, and we have lots of fantastic events, and just inviting kids to come and participate in those events, I think, is pretty much what the mayor's office wants to do. The town doesn't want to get involved in any kind of business on that end, but we do want to support it. And I think one of the main things that we can do to support the digital arts going forward is, invite them into the community to keep going.
Thanks, Dustin. Mayor Barrone.
Thank you, Isabella. And, it's a great opportunity. I have 9 grandchildren. And, I watched some of them struggle on the internet. I have watched other ones flourish on internet, and, especially with the school system. But there is a lot of opportunities for jobs in that field, and working with UNM, working with some of our upper education so that we can continue to move forward. But we also have to work with the providers, because as you know, sometimes in our community, the links and our broadband and different entities aren't quite as strong. We want to make sure that we have interconnectivity within the whole community. I know there's still some outlying areas that do not have really good internet. So we want to make sure that those people are really connected, so that there's an opportunity. Do you know that our water tanks and our sewer tanks, we can watch the levels, and we hire people to watch the levels of water, watch how the water is screened at our sewer plant. So there is an opportunity within the town of Taos to actually use those skills. The other skill is through the movie industry, and we will continue to try to get our movie industry here. We are working with a liaison currently to try to better that communication skill, and those jobs that are created here. There's a Brown Rice, there's a number of those companies that use that. And I know of a number of people now during the pandemic that have moved to our community, and they're in the $100,000 range. So again, there's opportunities to use these skills and actually make a living at it. So I look forward to that educational component of this. And I just want to say, we will together, we can make it happen. We can just work with UNM and our providers. Thank you.
Thanks for that answer, Mayor Barrone. So now we're going to do opening statements, which usually you do at the opening, but hopefully those questions were a good primer to sort of get us started with the forum tonight. So last time we started with Pascual. So Genevieve, do you want to start? You all will have 3 minutes.
So again, I just want to say thank you to the Taos News and the Chamber and TK1 for hosting this forum. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to participate and to have the honor of joining these gentlemen in this conversation. My name is Genevieve Oswald, and I am running for mayor. I was born here, I was raised here, I went to public schools here, and I have spent my adult life working and playing here in Taos. And Taos has given so much to me, my family, my friends, and incredible teachers. This community has afforded me the opportunity to have a livelihood as an entrepreneur, but my husband and I still haven't realized the dream of home ownership. And I witness many of my contemporaries struggle to make it here as our town grows and our demographics change. And of course, Taos is changing. I mean, it's a special place. It's rich and deep with culture and history. We're surrounded by scenic beauty, and we have a sense of community where everybody belongs. And we all want to live here, but we can't wait any longer for livable wages, improvements to infrastructure, investments in public safety, and real solutions to the housing crisis. And these are pressing issues. And our current elected officials have done very little to make any progress on these matters despite years on the job. And I just can't sit by idly any longer. For a government to work smoothly, and for any business for that matter, it takes a talented team, a diverse and empowered staff, and leadership that listens to and then responds to the needs of those it serves. Now, I trust that I have the leadership skills and the lifelong knowledge of our community to hold the office of mayor with respect and commitment. And I will prioritize and concentrate my effort towards solutions to the housing crisis, a carbon neutral pledge, a livable wage ordinance, investments in public safety and recreation for our youth, as well as services for our senior citizens, tangible support for small business, and improvements to infrastructure. We can have the livable Taos we want, and we can have it now. Again, I'm very happy to be here tonight. I'm excited to be a part of this conversation. And I'm really grateful so many of our community members are watching, though I don't know how many you are, and I'm actually a little grateful for that too. I'm really grateful though that you're all here tonight and that you want to be informed voters. Thank you.
Thanks, Genevieve. Dustin, 3 minutes.
Sure. Let's see. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dustin Sweet. I got here a little late to the game. I'm kind of a newcomer to Taos. I think I moved here in 1980. I've been in and out my adult life as I pursue an art career. Right now I teach for the University of New Mexico, and they rent me out to the high school. It's really nice. I got into this race because everyone here is talking about large ticket items and large intellectual ideas that don't necessarily have real world meaning in terms of a tangible, like, what can we do next in the world of Taos? And for me, it's important that somebody is here saying, hey, what's the next thing we can do, right? Housing crisis is the housing crisis over the whole country. We're not special here. So what can we do here to make it move forward? The big problems that are attacking our country right now are large, and they're basically safety issues. And for us to not have someone in office who's really addressing those right away is I think it would be dangerous. So I'm here to kind of lean into that piece of it. Fire danger this year is going to be extremely high. And there's a lot of things that we could do as a town, both as individual citizens and as a town, to kind of mitigate some of that. Water, if it storms again before this summer, we'll be lucky. How are we going to maintain our water infrastructure? There's a lot of people who are moving back to Taos, and we need to have a plan going forward in the next couple of years as to how to deal with them, because they're not strangers. They're our kids, they're our friends, they're our cousins. We have to have a way to not just receive them, but to take care of them as well, both with job opportunities and with housing opportunities. So that's why I'm here.
All right, thank you. Mayor Barrone. You are muted, Mayor Barrone. There you go.
Good evening, everyone. And I'm Dan Barrone. I'm honored to have been the mayor of the town of Taos for the last 8 years. First, take a minute to thank everybody for making this forum possible, especially the Taos News, the Chamber of Commerce. These forums are extremely important to help all the people of Taos to know the candidates. There are a lot of very important Taos Matters we talk about tonight. Now, if you know me, you know I'm a man of commitment, committed to my wonderful wife of 41 years, Della, committed to my family, my 3 kids, all live in Taos and are raising their families here, and committed to the people of Taos. I mentioned my family and the fact that they all live here because this is an important Taos future. We must work to continue to create jobs and a growing economy so that our children can continue to live the traditions of Taos and prosper in Taos. I mentioned before how committed I am. I've been committed to moving Taos forward, especially with our commitment to affordable housing and good paying jobs. Taos was the first town in the state to recognize the impact of short-term rentals on local housing needs. And so we worked with Airbnb to limit the number of short-term rentals, reducing their number from 600 to less than 120, to control their impact and charge a fee that helps develop affordable housing. In addition, the Taos has adopted 2 completed houses and 30 developed lots to Habitat for Humanity to create the first home ownership opportunities, and developed a 72-unit, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom multifamily affordable rental project on Herdner Road. As mayor, we have been able to invest over $6 million in local roads and additional $29 million in state road infrastructure on the Paseo, as well as new investments in water and wastewater infrastructure, raised salaries for our employees, raised wages in the police department to make it competitive, created a 24/7 full-time and unionized fire department that will soon have its first staffed ambulance. As mayor, the town and I have done some incredible work over the past 8 years, and we can do more. What can we continue to build together? I believe as a mayor, I can help make Taos a place our elders, our tribal partners, long-term residents, new additions, visitors, businesses, nonprofits, and our faith-based economy and community, all Taoseños can succeed together. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor Barrone. Pascual.
I'd like to first start with a land recognition statement. It is respectful to recognize the unique and enduring relationship that exists between Indigenous people and their traditional territories. We acknowledge that we are on the historic homeland of the Red Willow people within the original territory of Taos Pueblo. This acknowledgement will oblige as a reminder of our ongoing efforts to respectfully recognize, honor, reconcile, and partner with the Red Willow people whose land and water we benefit from in this great valley today. Taoseños and Taoseñas, thank you for taking the time to learn more about the candidates for mayor in this crucial election. My name is Pascualito Maestas, and I've had the honor of serving you on the Town of Taos Council for the past 4 years. When I was first elected, I had a steep learning curve, but stepped up to the challenge and gained valuable experience about how local government and the Town of Taos work. Since then, I've been an advocate for transparency and exposed issues to the public that I did not believe lived up to my standard of good government. My adult life has been devoted to service to this community and to our country. My first job was a tutor with Rocky Mountain Youth Corps during my senior year at Taos High. After graduation, I served honorably in the United States Navy, and I earned 2 bachelor's degrees in economics and international studies from the University of South Florida. I'm a young person who returned home and continued a life of service with Rocky Mountain Youth Corps, Dream Tree Project, as a math and economics teacher at Taos High, and as an elected official representing you on the Town of Taos Council and the Taos Municipal School Board. I have a history of choosing meaningful work, even though it's hard to pay the bills. I'm not interested in the money, the power, or the prestige. Rather, I'm running for mayor to make the change that Taos has needed and wanted for so long. What kind of change? If you want a government that values transparency and the processes that create consensus, I'm your candidate. If you want a government that makes data-informed decisions and tracks results, I am your candidate. If you want a government that prioritizes the needs of locals and returns to providing for the health, safety, and welfare of residents, I am your candidate. This race is a contest of substance versus style. We've had 8 years of style, and I ask you if you're better off now than you were 8 years ago. If not, I ask, can we afford 4 more years of style over substance? But if you think the town of Taos should be supporting detox services and reopening the recycling center, if you think the town of Taos should work collaboratively with our partners and develop strong relationships, and if you think it's time for change and a back to basics approach, then vote for the substance candidate, the candidate with a master's degree in economics and the experience to hit the ground running on day one. I ask for your vote to elect Maestas for mayor. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to move back into questions now. These questions were compiled by the Taos News and the Taos County Chamber of Commerce. We put a call out to the community as well to see what was most important for them to have asked this evening. So those have been taken into consideration as well. So Dustin, we're starting with you on this next one. So the pandemic has been hard on everyone, but perhaps especially those who are without the employment, housing, and financial security to weather the economic downturn it has caused. This problem is particularly significant for people in small towns like Taos, where the median household income is 16% below that of Taos County, 36% below that of New Mexico, and 54% below the median household income of the United States. The question is, in light of these facts, what would your administration do to create new jobs? And would you support a minimum wage increase as other county and city governments have done? Dustin.
I think the first actionable thing the town can do is to get into the business of recycling. There's a real opportunity that we're missing out on in terms of creating new things from old things. I think there's a real want to blame literally anyone for any kind of economic downturn. I think raising a minimum wage starts a good conversation about what can actually be afforded and what can't. If the town leads the way, then the private citizens can kind of follow. So as the town raises its own paychecks, then you can actually have a conversation about raising minimum wage throughout the town and throughout the county. I don't think that is the end-it-all solution. I think that the town needs to really look at where it's getting its economy from, what businesses it's allowing to start and support, and really focusing on creating new industries. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dustin. Mayor Barrone. And you guys have 2 minutes on these questions. I apologize, I forgot to remind you of that.
And thank you. And we are on the way at Town Hall to be the leaders in raising our minimum wage. We agree that our employees should be receiving at least $15 an hour. We, in our budget, we agreed to give $2 an hour raises to our employees. I know some people voted no against that, but we did try to move that forward, and it did get forward. So our employees will be receiving $2 more an hour. We're working on moving it up to $15 an hour. But I just want to say it takes a little time to do that. It's not instant, but the jobs that we will be creating, if it all goes through, we should be creating additional jobs for training at a training center for fire. We will be creating additional jobs for the new firehouse out at the airport. We also be creating jobs out at the airport for cold storage, pick and pack, something like Amazon, warehousing, light manufacturing, and hangars out there. Those are some of the jobs that we'll be creating. And within the tech park, there'll be a number of jobs created for, like we had the question from the young lady earlier today. These are tech jobs that people from all over the world can be out there and be able to use. One of the things that we really look forward to, possibly out at the airport is, I know a number of us, raise animals, and there's not a good place to have them processed in our community. There is, but it doesn't have a really good home. So we're trying to get a place out at the park so that our animals aren't having to be taken all the way to Colorado and the southern part of the state to be processed. So there's a lot of jobs that we're already looking at. We are talking about. So I want to say thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Barrone. Pascual.
Thanks, John, for the question. I believe the answer lies in a skilled workforce. If we invest in career technical education, this is how we create a thriving economy. In my opinion, government needs to get out of the way and allow business entrepreneurs and that spirit of entrepreneurship to move forward. Right now, we have a shortage of plumbers. We have a shortage of electricians, of welders, people with hard skills that make great money. This is like solving two problems at once, building houses and creating a skilled labor force. So my answer to that question is to focus on our labor, which is the #1 issue right now for businesses across the country. We're hearing it that they can't find good labor, skilled labor to show up to work. I also would like to respond and say that I didn't vote no on this budget because we were increasing wages. I voted no on this large budget because it gave $20 million of investment towards the airport and $75,000 towards affordable housing. And that didn't feel right to me. I've been advocating for raising wages for the town of Taos. And I've made a point that every year, this administration has been putting $1 million in personnel savings into the reserve. Those personnel savings are built on positions that have gone unfilled for far too long. And instead of taking that money and redistributing it among our employees who are already doing the jobs of 2 or 3 people, they've been put into this reserve that has just become bloated and too big. Even our auditor says so. Thank you.
All right, Genevieve, 2 minutes to answer that one.
So what we're doing as far as our economy here and supporting the majority of our locals clearly isn't working. And one of the primary things that we need to do is enable businesses to establish themselves with ease at Town Hall. Town Hall needs to be a fully staffed organization with capable and empowered people so that when businesses come here and they want to get a permit and they want to establish themselves, it's easy for them to do that. Now, as far as a minimum wage ordinance, I think it's important that we do that. The Ski Valley's report that a livable wage in our county is $14.68 an hour is telling, and that new employees in the Public Works Department at Town Hall get hired on for $12 and some change an hour is it's really kind of embarrassing, quite frankly. So Town Hall needs to raise their wages, but so do the rest of us. We can't put our local businesses out of business while we're trying to get our community employed and paid well at a livable wage. So we're going to need to have conversations with our business community and then come up with a strategic plan to raise wages in a way that benefits everybody. Kit Carson Electric has worked really hard over the past many years to get broadband established in our community. That's a real opportunity for us to incentivize more tech businesses. But if we can't make it easy for them to come in and establish themselves to get the permits that they need, they're not going to waste their time. They're not going to waste capital investment. So our current administration has really failed this community in this regard, and I look forward to doing more.
All right, thank you all for your answers on that question. So the next one has to do with the recycling issue in town, which I know a lot of people probably tuned in just to listen to your responses to that one. The town chose to shut down the Taos Recycling Center on Bertha Street in 2021, then reversed course on that decision and decided to reopen it this year, but that hasn't happened as the Taos News understands it due to staffing issues. Why was the decision to close the center reversed, do you think? And what strategies would you use to get it back open and keep it open? in 2022, and to also make it efficient in actually keeping recyclables out of the landfill. Mayor Barrone, you're up first for that one, 2 minutes.
So first of all, I'd like to correct that. The town did not shut the landfill. The regional landfill board decided to shut the recycle center. We have then tried to work with partners in the region to try to bring it back alive, where we have put out an 8-point proposal to our, I want to say to our partners, and we're working through that. Currently, we have agreed to reopen it. We have put out some job opportunities in our community. We're getting ready to fill those so that we can get it open. There is a opportunity to work with some of our local recyclers that we can try to distribute some of the goods that we collect. But even at the landfill, we continue to collect tires. We still generate and collect white goods and cardboard for recycling. So it hasn't gone away. We are working currently with, we have about a 6-month period that we're going to work and try to evaluate it, do a study to make sure that we can continue to open it. And it's a regional landfill. So we have been taking on, the town has been taking on the process now for many, many years. And we want to be able to find partners to continue to keep it open, because the town cannot do it just on the backs of the town residents. We need partners, and we're looking for those partners. We have talked now to Santa Fe to try to implement something like is happening in Maine, so we can put the burden on the backs of the producers of the garbage. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Barrone, and thank you for clarifying. Yes, it was the Taos Regional Landfill Board, which includes representatives from the town of Taos, along with Taos County, the village of Cuesta, town of Red River, and Taos Ski Valley and Eagle Nest. Pascual, you're up next on that question, 2 minutes.
Thank you, John. Taos has a reputation of being sustainable. We call ourselves the solar capital of the world. And frankly, it's a bit embarrassing that our recycling center is closed. We do need to partner, but during a town-county joint meeting, the county looked poised, ready to partner and provide some funding to keep the recycling center not just open for cardboard, but fully open and accepting of all items that need to be recycled. I think this is representative of a disagreement between the town and the county that extends not just for the recycling center, but for many other issues, including detox. So what I would do immediately is partner with Taos County. They are ready to help support the recycling center. And while I like the 8-point plan, it feels to me like asking for the feds and the state to come and save us when we already have the means to do it ourselves.
All right, Genevieve.
We really have to be thinking about what we consume and how we're going to be more conscientious of what we consume and how we're going to move into the next phase of living as human beings on planet Earth, how we're going to be more regenerative in our choices rather than just consumers. Closing the recycling center was a real loss for our community. And as I understand it, that happened at the landfill board. The conversation around closing the recycling center happened because the town of Taos decided they would no longer pay completely for the services. And it was a leverage moment to try to get other regional partners to pay for services. And they felt like they didn't use the services enough to weigh in with their dollars, which are minimal, like the rest of us in northern New Mexico. I'll tell you what I won't do. I won't let an unelected official choose for us. I won't do that. What I would like to see is Taos and its regional partners work together to come up with solutions for recycling, which include a pickup service. I'd like to see us do a comprehensive study to understand just how much it costs us and if it's better for us to take the recycling from our community to other municipalities or cities that can do the services at the same cost and not be a burden on our staff. The biopark, that's what I'm calling the tech and business park out by the airport, is an excellent opportunity to incentivize businesses that have a circular economy built into their model. So that includes repurposing and reusing the things that they are creating and selling. And if we get that park open and we make it easier for businesses to come to Taos, then we might actually be able to establish another economy and more jobs, as well as start saving our planet.
All right, thanks, Genevieve. Dustin, you're the last one on that question.
Recycling is a hot topic issue for the people of Taos. Something like 80% of us said it was very important to us when we had that survey go around a couple years ago, and it, as you know, as we all know, it was a little shocking to see it close down. I disagree with these three in that I don't think it's a service. I think it is a real opportunity. Repurposed building materials, new building materials. It's all of the technology to create these things is available, and it's available cheaply. To get the plastic back online, to be creating a plastic spool is something like a $1,300 investment. There's nothing that we can't do in terms of creating a large scale recycling industry here in Taos that reaches up the entire San Luis Valley. The idea that we'd be taking all of our things somewhere else in order to get rid of it because someone else is doing it cheaper, or they're getting rid of it and it's removing the moral problems that we have with throwing away our trash. It just doesn't make any sense. We should be taking the lead on this, and it's a real opportunity to be making things.
All right, thank you all for those responses. So the next question is about substance abuse, which has been a long time problem in not only Taos, but in Taos County, northern New Mexico in general. Taos was heavily impacted by the opioid epidemic, and alcoholism has been an issue here for generations. And yet, despite these problems, Taos has not had a detox center, which is, by most experts' opinion, the most basic level of actually getting clean and sober for several years now. Rio Grande Alcoholism Treatment Program has been trying to open a new center for a few years now. If elected, what would you do to ensure a detox center opens this year and stays open for the long term? And I believe, Pascual, you're up first on that.
John, I really appreciate you asking this question because as someone who's grown up here, I've lost so many classmates and friends and family. I'll say that number one, I'm going to partner with Taos County. They are ready. They have been asking for this detox center. And I agree with the administration on letting Holy Cross Hospital use it during this time, to use it for vaccinations and testing. But when that time is over and this wave subsides, we've had this issue of substance abuse in our community for much, much, much longer than this pandemic. And it is a very basic service that we need to provide. The land underneath that detox center was donated for the primary purpose of a detox center. And we need to honor that commitment and partner with the county to reopen. Just a reminder that in 2 of our Taos County joint meetings, it was promised to them, but it hasn't been turned over. And the county promised to honor the town's commitment to the hospital, and yet it still hasn't been turned over. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Pascual. Genevieve?
As an elected official, I'll act as an agent to the citizens' needs, not a gatekeeper to the town's services. The town of Taos must provide a detox center and transitional housing for people coming out of detox as they move back into the world of functionality. We will partner with the county to get the Detox Center up and running. We have a unique opportunity in front of us with recreational marijuana. The state has added an additional 12% excise tax to marijuana sales on top of gross receipts tax. And it's our responsibility to earmark some of those dollars to help to serve in this capacity in our community, to fund detox and other social services that will help people struggling with drug and alcohol dependence. And we also need to provide our youth with opportunities to do things other than drugs and alcohol. They need more recreational opportunities, and we can invest in those kinds of facilities and programs. Another thing that a mayor can do is they can call the governor. They can call the governor often, and they can ask for support. They can demand support and tell the governor that these are the things that our community desperately needs. Now, I know that we needed to have vaccination and a facility to do that during this time, but I don't think that that's a priority when our friends, neighbors, and family are dying from another endemic disease in our community. So finding a way to do both and more will always be my policy.
All right, thank you, Genevieve. Dustin.
The Detox Center is a real no-brainer. Taos is the county seat, and it needs to lead the way. The part where it's been a back and forth issue between the town and the county is pretty embarrassing. The things I would do leading forward as mayor were to work kind of tirelessly to get it open as soon as possible. If that means partnering with the county, we partner with the county. If that means doing it on our own, it means we do it on our own. Having the bare minimum to combat a problem that is sweeping our nation is, I mean, okay, that's the bare minimum. You know, right now, the best response to the fentanyl pandemic has been on the part of the KKK and the white nationalists. They're scooping people up and they're making it totally lovely for those young men, and then they're changing their minds about their politics. We can do a lot better than the KKK. So that's my feeling on that.
All right, thank you. Mayor Barrone.
And thank you. And, you know, we are already committed to the county so that they will take over the detox center. But I just want to clarify something. In the middle of a pandemic, when we called a hospital and the hospital is being overrun with patients, and they asked if they could use the building to do and set it up for an overflow for our community. I think that's a priority during a pandemic. We needed to do this. You know, we've been looking for opportunities in our community to move forward with detox. Medical detox is something that the feds and state can get behind. Social detox, yes, but it doesn't pay the bills. So we continue to work with the hospital to find opportunities to work and be able to generate the revenue you need to run a facility. I know that building sat vacant for 2 years, and we had a certain entity that were really working hard to try to generate somebody to get into it. But for 2 years, they couldn't find it because there wasn't the money. And the state even came in and said, we will not pay for social detox. There's not reimbursement. So for 2 years, they couldn't find the funding to do that. Now there's some small amounts of funding. The county has allocated some money to get a startup business, and we are committed to giving that building to the county the minute the pandemic releases a little bit, so that we aren't using it for the annex of the hospital. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mayor Barrone. Thank you, everyone. So let's see where we're at. So Genevieve, we'll start with you on this question. Federal, state, and municipal governments have faced unprecedented challenges during the pandemic. Chief among them has been the question of how to balance the need to keep economies running while protecting public health. How do you envision the town's future in light of the continued spread of coronavirus? And if elected, what policies would you adopt moving forward?
Thank you, John. The coronavirus pandemic has been very difficult for everyone, and that we are all still here and that we want to continue to work together to make a community that is livable for all is really a wonderful thing. Residents first will always be our policy. So how can we serve the citizens of our community? What do the citizens want? How can we listen to the citizens and then bring their desires into a tangible reality? As far as how we can meet the public right now where they are, we can continue to do meetings online, but I think it's time to start to live with this pandemic a little bit more. And I'm really hopeful that as we have more access to tests, that we can open town hall and have hybrid meetings so that the people who are less able-bodied or can't make it to the meetings will be able to, while people who would like to be there in person can show up. I'd also like us to have more regular town halls where we bring important conversations like how can we serve our community to the community before they come to the council to be voted on. I think that it's time to start having meetings in public again. And I'm actually I was disappointed that we weren't gonna be together for this meeting tonight, though I do understand that that would have put us all at risk of getting ill. Thank you for being honest about your situation, Dustin. But yeah, I think it's time for us to start to find ways to live with this virus.
All right, thanks, Genevieve. Dustin.
I guess I'd have to say that I'm a fan of the free market, and it's going to shake out how it shakes out, regardless of what we want to do to try and contain it. I think Genevieve's got a point. At some point, we have to look at living with it and being involved in a society that actively takes care of its most at-risk members is a society I want to participate in. I understand the hustle to get back to business as usual, and I think that it's wrong-headed. I think that we're not out of the woods yet with this thing, and we won't be for a while. And while we struggle with paying the bills and making it work, new opportunities constantly come up. And I believe that the people of Taos are smart and capable and are able to look outside of the bounds of what it used to be and come up with new ways of doing business and being together, so that we can not just take care of ourselves, but those among our community who are most fragile in this instance.
All right, thank you. Mayor Barrone.
So it's a great question, and you don't really have. You have to see how it evolves. It was great, and we got to make good, educated decisions on how we move forward. I was fortunate the governor called me to be on her team when this pandemic was hitting, and we did everything according to doctors' science. We are making decisions to keep things open, closing, masking, wearing masks. We want to make sure that there's enough tests in our community to go around. We want to make sure there's enough masks. And as you know, we brought in tons of masks, hundreds, distributed them to all the businesses all around the community, even all around the Enchanted Circle. We were the lifeline for masks and sanitizers. We worked with the hospital to get the annex going. We worked with the hospital for the front of the hospital where we did testing and vaccines. And so we know what it is to be in this pandemic, and we're trying to do the very best. How will we move forward? Based on science to how it's spreading, what are the death rates, and that's the most important thing, is keeping people alive in our community. If they have to wear a mask, some people want to wear them, some people don't. We did have a mask mandate, and we still are in the indoor mask mandate. So we want to make sure that we keep everybody safe, but yet we need to open our economy a little bit at a time to see how we fare out. We don't want to shut businesses again. We want to make sure that people are safe though and are wearing their masks. Our kids in school are, right now we're seeing a big uptick. Was that it? I'm sorry.
That's time. We'll have closing
thank you.
statements if you'd like to elaborate more on that answer. Thank you for that answer.
Thank you.
Pascual, you're up next.
Thanks, John. This pandemic has been tough for everybody, but I also would agree with Ms. Oswald, who's saying that we need to find a way back. And I'll say that on the school board, we have found a safe way back for our students. Mayor Barrone, can I ask you to mute? We found a safe way back. Our students are getting temperature checked every day. They're wearing their masks. They're happy to be back. And this virus isn't going away. We've got to find a way to live with it. I would like to add that I think part of the reason why we are in this pandemic and it's gone on so long is because of the mistrust in government, and not just local government, but state and federal government, who have for so long not been working for people. They have very special private interests. And when something like a pandemic happens and we are taking steps that are backed by science, I think the response right now in this country is that we don't trust government. We don't know if what they're saying is really good for us or not, or is it good for pharmaceutical companies or big business. So rebuilding trust in local government, I think, would help us get to this place where we are working together as a community and putting the needs of each other first. Thank you.
So another question that's come up at government of all levels is the matter of mandating a vaccine. We've seen that play out in some businesses, in some government agencies. If you were elected, is that something that you would endorse or support? And let's see who's up next. I believe it's you, Dustin. And just 1 minute on that answer. Sorry, go ahead.
That's an easy one. No, I think mandating a vaccine is mandating any kind of medical advice to anyone is kind of outside of the purview of what I want the government doing.
Okay, Mayor Barrone.
No, I believe that people have a freedom of choice. It is proven that it'll help and you won't get as sick, but I think people has a freedom of choice. Thank you.
Pascual.
Very simply, no, the government doesn't have the authority to mandate vaccines. They are proven safe, but you have your freedom of choice in this country.
All right, Genevieve.
So I have been on the front lines and working every day since the pandemic began. And I am very grateful that I was in the first % of the country to be vaccinated. I gave the option to my entire staff, and 85% of my staff took that option. And we can look around our community and we can see just how well we've done. People in Taos make great choices, and 85% of our county is vaccinated. So no, I wouldn't support a vaccine mandate, but I would absolutely follow whatever mandate came down from the governor and the federal government.
Okay, thank you all for answering that question. So now we're going to switch it up a little bit. I'm going to ask some individual questions. Since Dustin went last, Mayor Barrone, I'll ask you yours first. Mayor Barrone, there are no term limits for mayor in New Mexico. And you've been mayor, as you stated, and when you started talking in the forum, that you've been mayor since 2014. What would you say to a voter who would argue that maybe it's time to give a new person the chance to lead?
Well, I would say that we lead by example. We are, look at my track record, see what I've done. You know, we can start way back when I was a county commissioner, and we can talk about the new judicial administrative complex. We can talk about the C-110 that we got paved. We can talk about the road out to the to Ojo Caliente. That's a big component. We can talk about giving or selling the UNM building that created jobs for our community. That they have nursing, they have those abilities. We can talk about the $7 million that we put into roads. We can talk about the $3 million that we put in the youth and family center. We can talk about all the things, the jobs that we've created are going to create. As the chairman of the NCRTD, we've brought bringing a new facility to our community, creating another 41 jobs. So, I mean, experience matters. Knowing the people that you get to know and meet, and the trust that you develop, not only with your employees, but with the different state organizations and the federal organizations, and that they trust you, because we have audits within our community that are great audits. So they know that the money that you get, we spend it well, and we continue to look for outside money for the community. We've been able to receive over $100 million over my span that came from outside money, not from money from our taxpayers here in Taos, but federal and state monies. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So Pascual, here's a question for you. You also, when you gave your opening statement, described the many organizations you've been involved in locally, but that can also be a bit of a double-edged sword, right? So if you were elected mayor, how would you avoid conflicts of interest? How would you ensure that you would be using your power as mayor to not serve people who you have built long-term relationships with?
It's a great question, and I have a track record of recusing myself whenever an organization that I sit on the board of, a contract comes up with the town. For example, there's been a Rocky Mountain Youth Corps contract for the juvenile justice grant. Even though I believe in that, it's a great program, I recuse myself. So that's the simple answer. But I'll say that I don't think that the mayor should be making votes. If there was a contract that came before the council, the job of the mayor is to create consensus. And if I was part of an organization that had a contract with the town, it would come before the council, and I as mayor would not take a vote on it.
All right, thank you. Genevieve, this next one's for you. So you've never held a position in politics before. Why have you chosen to run straight for mayor, and why are you not running for city council to gain some experience?
Well, John, I'm tired of things that matter being brushed off like they don't. And I did want to run for town council, but I've spent the last 3.5 years watching the meetings devolve into dysfunctional settings where there's not a lot of respect amongst the council members, and there's a disrespectful tone in the meetings coming from an unelected official. And I don't see anyone at that table making any statements that would right the way. We have also not heard from any of these leaders publicly during the deep pandemic in a way that showed real leadership, that they were going to speak to the people and help ease our fear. There were no letters to the editor. There were no public statements on Facebook or in the newspaper. And that was really disappointing to me. And finally, while it may not matter to some of the men sitting in this conversation tonight, the question of residency is it's a lawful question, and it matters to me. And as far as I know, I'm the only actual candidate who lives in the town of Taos full time.
Okay, thank you, Genevieve. Dustin, so you state on your website that you are running in order to encourage people to vote. Does that mean that you're not running with a genuine desire to be elected? And if so, what would you say to a voter who says that that is confusing to voters and detrimental to the political process?
I would say that you'd have to be a psychopath to want to have a job in public office. I think that all of the public critique and all of the pressure mounting on you is a little bit crazy making to begin with, but to desire to be part of the political process of getting voted back into office again and again, it's not something I'm really interested about. My interest is in the growth of Taos, how we grow over the next 10 years. And I'm going to be incredibly vocal about that moving forward. I believe that you can't just sit back and complain about something if you're not willing to do it yourself. So while I don't want the job, I am perfectly willing to throw my name in the hat and say I can get this done. As to worries about splitting a vote or any of the worried comments that perhaps I'm not taking the political process seriously, I would encourage no one to take the political process seriously. And I would say that, you know, you don't win unless you win, and you're not going to lose votes to someone who like they weren't your votes. If you didn't get them, you didn't get them. The end.
Okay, thank you, Dustin. Thank you, everyone, for responding to those. So we're actually getting near the end of our questions, and then we'll see if we can pull some from people who've been watching and people who sent us some questions last week. So this next question goes to all of you. We're going to switch back to the regular format. Last time we started with Mayor Barrone. So Pascual, you're up first for this one. So Taos is a place of deeply rooted and deeply valuable history and diverse cultures. And yet development here is an inevitability. If elected, how would you ensure that continued development does not erode the cultures of Taos or price out its local residents? And the second prong of that question is, how would you prioritize spending on the Taos Regional Airport? Pascual.
Great questions. And I'll start with the second first. The airport is an asset, and I think there is a belief that I am against the airport, and that's certainly not true. I've voted for many of the safety measures, such as resurfacing the runway, upgrading the LAM system to track aircraft. I also believe that it is out of balance because there is so much investment going out to the airport at a time when we are all continuing to recover from a global pandemic that has just made our substance abuse rates worse, our alcoholism worse. Our kids are coming back to school with very limited social skills. This is a time when we need investment here. And I think the answer is trying to find the right balance. Everybody's going to have a different idea of what that balance is. But I can certainly say, in my opinion, right now, it is out of balance. And I would create some programs like the Community Land Trust to help stabilize home prices, investing in our labor force, so that way people can find jobs that require a skill and pay the bills, and focusing on our students because many of them are leaving and they're not coming back, not because they don't want to, but because it's very hard to live here. And to Dustin and to Genevieve, younger people like myself who understand that it takes sacrifice to live in Taos. And thank you. And thank you to all of our children who are coming back and making the sacrifice to be here, because it's very tough.
All right, thanks, Pascual. Genevieve.
Yeah, a lot of people would love to live here just like us because it's a special place, and they're going to join us, and we would be lucky to welcome them and then leverage what they have in our community for the rest of our community members to have a more happy and healthy life. To curb gentrification, one thing we can do is be really deliberate about how we develop, and we can develop with socioeconomic boundaries in mind. One of the things that happens when places get developed, generally that development pushes out more marginalized families, low income families. And in our community, we all know that the majority of our multi-generational families fit the low income bracket. So if we want to keep them in the community, then we can make a case for asking all new developments to include a metric for affordable housing within them, and we can keep our communities diverse. I'd also like to see the town of Taos instate a cultural heritage commission that can help us make decisions that include the heritage of our community. And that could be made up of citizens from the greater region. With regards to the airport, as I said before, my administration will always be residents over visitors. And to distribute the resources in a more equitable way, we will discuss with our residents how they would like to see the dollars spent. There's a certain practice called participatory budgeting, and it would be nice to see us engage in participatory budgeting for the entire general fund and give the community an opportunity to discuss how they'd like to see our dollars used in the community.
Thank you, Dustin.
Thanks. I think there's nothing that we can't do together. And the office of the mayor and the office of the town should be focused on finding solutions together. There's a real fear about gentrification that is that these outsiders will come in and change the way we do things. And the reality is that the people who are coming back here are not outsiders. They are our children and our cousins and our friends, and they're going to want to do things the same way that that we've always wanted to do things. I think that getting back to I don't want to call it community service, but like what are the social programs that we're doing together to create more ideas of community? How are we interacting with our neighbors? How are we interacting with each other? Because in order to keep our traditions alive and our traditions, we have to keep doing them, and we have to find new ways of making them relevant in the 21st century. As far as the airport is concerned, there's a lot of development happening out there in order to support the growth of the Ski Valley. That's not good or bad. I support the airport as a safety measure. I think it has done more to increase the safety of us living in northern New Mexico than any other thing we've done in the last bunch of years. And I actually applaud Mayor Barrone for the hard work he's put into getting that done. I think that it's got a real opportunity to connect us to the rest of the world. And if we don't take it up on that, then we're crazy.
Thanks, Dustin. Mayor Barrone.
The airport is the biggest public safety initiative that has hit our region in years, and we want to support that. It's a public safety thing. If we put out a fire training center out there, if we put a firehouse out there, and we take water and sewer out there, everybody talks about affordable housing, but if we don't create affordable housing, this is a way to create affordable housing by taking water and sewer. It lowers the cost of land out there, and it's home ownership, not property that through the land trust that nobody ever really owns. These are home ownership opportunities for people to own the land and have a place that they can call home. But in the other portion of it, we need to train our kids. We need to show that we're getting in the ditch with them. We're showing that we can revitalize, and we have revitalized the Vihili Romo ditch. We have revitalized getting water to our parks. It's part of our rich history and culture. You know, how many of the people online here have even been to the county fair to support our kids that raise animals, that are being taught to raise animals? I don't think I've seen any of them there. This is an opportunity for all of us to come together to support our kids, teach them about our waters, and preserve those waters. Because without water, there's no life here. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So we're going to move into a couple questions that we're getting from comments. The Taos Professional Firefighters Union sent in this question. I'm paraphrasing it a bit because it was long, but the question is, how would you prioritize supporting Taos Volunteer Fire Department and public safety in general? Pascual went last, so Genevieve, you're first on that one. 2 minutes.
We're so lucky to have such a committed fire department. And I know some of the gentlemen who work in that department, and I know just how seriously they take their jobs. And I feel so fortunate to live in a community with people who I can trust when I'm in an unsafe situation, and the rest of the community can too. The business of a town municipality is public safety. So of course we would make that a top priority. I know that if we continue to grow our fire department and provide them with the resources to get the training they need, it benefits our community. And I would be in full support of that.
All right, thanks. Dustin.
Yeah, I grew up with a real strong belief that you prepare for the worst and you expect the best. And I think that as we go forward, there's some real safety issues that we need to look at. And I would lean into the firefighters as the leaders in that topic.
All right, Mayor Barrone.
Great question. You know, and we worked with our local fire department, which was mainly volunteer. And I want to say we've created a 24/7 paid fire department. And it's awesome. You know, also they came to us just recently and we approved a brand new ambulance. And so we're going to create an opportunity for our fire department to continue to move forward. We're looking at creating another fire station, a fire training center for them to be trained at and actually be part of. And so, yes, I continue to commit that we will do the very best to support. That's part of what we're tasked with, the health, safety, and welfare of our community. Fire is one of the biggest components of that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for that answer. So one more question.
I didn't get to answer.
Apologize, Pascual. It's hard to keep track.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Thank you. I would just like to say that I think there is a real opportunity for collaboration between the town and the county to look at fire service. Mayor Barrone is right. The fire department became a 24/7 paid fire department, but they're still heavily reliant on some of the volunteer fire departments around the county. And the town of Taos Fire Department doesn't just respond within the town limits, they're responding all over. So we need to work together to figure out a way for our volunteer departments who have been losing volunteers because it's a tough job. It is volunteer. They're on call, and sometimes they're being called in the middle of the night on a school night. So it's a tough problem, but if we work together, town and county, I think we can figure out a solution. Okay, thank you. So the next question comes from Larry Mapes with the Taos Chamber of Commerce. Taos Chamber of Commerce partnered with us on the forum tonight. Larry asks, because each of you have different perspectives on needs and solutions, would you all consider being active on an advisory committee for the term of your opponent's term?
And let's see, who went last? Pascual went last. Okay, Genevieve, sorry about that.
As I said before, I appreciate all of these men for certain reasons. I've had the good fortune of meeting all of them and working with them. And they're all good men. And if they asked me to serve on such a board, it would be an honor to do that.
All right, thank you, Dustin.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'd be, I think that kind of stuff is fun.
Concise. All right, Mayor Barrone.
Sure, I would be welcome. And I'll continue to serve on a lot. I hope to continue to serve on a lot of the boards that I already serve on. I will continue to help with 4-H. I will continue to help with the Taos Athletics. I will continue to help with the NCRTD and all those boards. And we are currently recruiting for people to be on planning and zoning. I'd love to see some of these mayor candidates be on planning and zoning, and it would be a great opportunity to learn more about the town. Thank you.
Pascual.
Of course, I can say, even though I may disagree with many of the candidates here, I think we all really do want what's best for Taos. We have a disagreement sometimes about what's best, but I would be happy to serve on a board if I continue to do service for my community.
All right, so the last question is one I wasn't planning on asking tonight, but I think it's an important one that gives voters a sense of who you are and how your mind works as an elected official. The question is, when was the last time you changed your mind about an important issue? And it could be anything, it could be beyond the town limits. So what was that, and what was the change? Dustin, you're up first for that one.
I change my mind all the time. I think the last thing that I changed my mind about was whether or not this particular set of animators did a good job or not on a Disney film. My belief is that I'm 100% right all the time, and part of being right all the time is that you're not always right all the time. You got to change your mind when new information shows up.
All right, Mayor Barrone.
It's hard to make some of these decisions, and the more information we get, the better off, the easier it is to make those decisions. So have I really changed my mind? I can't really specifically say. There's, after you really do the research, you really try to understand what the real issues are, and then you make a decision. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you want to move forward, but really I can't pinpoint one of those decisions that I've really made on. I would not say I really wanted 5 children, but the decision for us to only be blessed with 3, I think that we limited it to 3.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Pascual.
Thanks, John. The plastic bag ban is something that I have changed my mind about. I went to a local restaurant recently, and instead of plastic straws, they're paper straws, but now it's a plastic cup, which is very frustrating. And of course, many of us know that sometimes we go to the store and forget to bring our reusable bags. And instead of a small fee, now we just have these really thick plastic bags. The purpose of the plastic bag ban was to start reducing our consumption in plastic. And I feel it's just had the opposite effect. And of course, I voted for it. It's something that I was thinking was going to be good for Taos, but seeing its impact, I've changed my mind.
Okay, Genevieve, you're the last one on that question.
Well, like Dustin, I changed my mind. I'm super into neurology, and it's really cool to know that the brain can change. And when people tell you I can't change, know that that's not wholly true, because the brain's primary function is mapping information, and it can remap information. A small anecdote, this is a slightly controversial thing to say, but I read a biography on Abraham Lincoln a few years back, and Abraham Lincoln began his political career as a white supremacist. I use that term directly. He really believed in the model of the white working class above any other citizens. And he would have happily sent slaves to Liberia before freeing them into the working man's market in the United States. And he changed his mind. And he decided that a union united was better than a union divided. And he set his own personal beliefs aside for the greater sake of our country. And he's a political hero of mine for that reason in particular, his capacity to set himself aside for something bigger. I have changed my mind recently about a political stance. When I first heard that recreational marijuana would be sold here in the state, I was completely opposed to it being sold in the historic district. And then I questioned myself about that and my position on alcohol being sold in the historic district. And I wouldn't put a ban on alcohol sales, and I wouldn't put a ban on recreational marijuana sales either.
Okay, thank you all. So we'll make this the last question. We're getting close to the end here. If elected, what do you see as the future direction for Kit Carson Park? Kit Carson's hosted some great concerts in the last several years. Probably all of us at one point have had a good time there or two. But would you continue to have the town be so heavily involved in the events business? And just in general, what do you envision is the best use of that space? And I believe it is Genevieve. I think you're up first on that one.
So Kit Carson Park is a public property, and the uses of the space are laid out in the town code and land uses. And of course, we would follow whatever the town charter says regarding the uses of the park. I live right in town, and I use the park all the time. I walk there alone with my dog, with my friends. I've taken my nieces and nephews there over the years to play. I've also enjoyed concerts there. And I use it as a thoroughfare while I walk around town a lot. And I can be very upset when the park is closed for a concert and the concert's taking place in a small portion of the park, and I'm not allowed to use the park as a thoroughfare. I've gotten very upset about that before as a tax-paying citizen in the town. But I don't think we should stop using the park for venues like that. I do believe that we need to not be in the business of promotions and band booking agency. There are private businesses in the town of Taos and elsewhere who could really benefit off of that economic opportunity. The park is a facility, and now there's a stage there, and we could put a board or a commission together of community citizens who would oversee the booking and calendar of the park. And, like any other facility rental, we'd have a price and agencies would pay it. And in the meantime, we'd keep the park open as well to local citizens. I'd like to see the ticket sales be lowered for zip codes in our region so that our youth can enjoy these concerts. And I'd also like to see a tax put on them for, recycling. That'd be great.
All right, thank you. Dustin.
I hate that big ugly thing. I would sell it to some other unsuspecting young town and get it out of here. Take the money from that sale and reinvest it in the old facility we used to have. Right now it's housing town lawnmowers and small equipment. And that facility could be rebuilt in a better way. The concert stage itself is, I think it's eyesore. I think it's a poor decision, and I would do away with it.
All right, Mayor Barrone.
Thank you. And we, every year, we go through a process. And anybody that is wanting to use the park, we put it out there that we're doing our annual review, and we ask people to come in and put in a request. Then it's taken back to the council, and we make a decision on the days it can be used and alike. But the part that people don't understand is, we do a lot of free things for the community. The Youth and Family Center is free for the whole community. The library is free for the whole community. The fire is free. They put out fires in the whole community. We don't charge anybody, but we have to address this by having GRTs in our budget to put back in these things so that it's for the community. This generates the events that go on in the park, generates revenue for our community, so that because 80% of our budget is based off of gross receipts tax. And some people don't realize that very minimal is from property tax. So if we don't generate the money to keep these entities alive for the whole community, then we will have to figure out which ones to shut down. So we got to be vibrant in our community to address those things that we love and we need. And not only that, but all the events that are put on, El Barrone, the fiesta, these are all things that are generated with revenue that comes to the community. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Pascual.
Thanks, John. In short, I don't think the town should be in the events business. We've got a history of some really great shows that have been put on by private developers like Solar Fest and the Mother's Day Festival. I thought those were great shows, and the town didn't really have much to do with getting the bands and promoting and all of that. We can do that with partnership with the radio stations again. As far as GRT, it's true that 80% of the town's budget comes from GRT, but during the height of the pandemic, we were only down about 7%. And it reminds me of the 80-20 rule in business, that 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your customers. And I think it's really local spending that's supplying the vast majority of the GRTs that make the town function. Some of these large events, they may, I hear from some businesses that they're good. I hear from some businesses that they're bad. I'm not sure how it plays out on the aggregate level with all of them combined. But the simple answer is that the town doesn't need to be involved in the events business. We can have some very successful events without the town taking the lead.
Okay. Thank you all so much for answering the questions. We're going to move now into closing statements. Those will be 3 minutes, just like opening statements. And we will start with Dustin. Go ahead, Dustin.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for showing up tonight. It's been lovely to see you all, and it's been lovely to hear your positions on these things. I'm sorry I'm not in better health to kind of speak more coherently. I think that Taos moving forward has all of the skill and ability within its citizenship to determine its future. One of the larger pieces that we don't talk about is kind of the separation between the county and the town. We dance around it a lot, but we don't talk about it. If the county wanted to be the town, they would have made different votes last summer. Ranchos voted very clearly that they want to be the county. So the town needs to make town decisions about being town. That sounds crazy, I know, but that's where we're at going forward. I believe that there are several qualified people. I think everybody involved in this race is qualified. I think they all have different ideas of what the future of Taos holds. For myself, I think it's very much in a place where I feel like we can use our resources and each other to kind of come together well and solve our problems ourselves. There's a lot of feeling like there's some external people who are going to help, either at a federal or a state level. That we can't depend on those. We have to become more self-sufficient. And I believe that I've got all the skills it takes to make that happen. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dustin. Mayor Barrone.
In closing, I can say I am proud to have raised my family in Taos with my beautiful wife here for 40 years. I am proud to have built a local business here for 30 years. I'm very proud of the work that the town and I have accomplished together. I believe we can strengthen the relationships I have helped to build with the governor's office, the state legislature, the State Department of Tourism and Finance, our federal partners, UNM, Kit Carson, Taos County, community and private sectors, to capture, those millions of dollars that right now are coming up through the ARFA funds, the bill, and the general fund from the state. I'm so thankful for the opportunity to live in Taos. The amazing landscape that we have here is so beautiful. Which brings it back, to the landscaping, the water that flows, in our acequias that we brought back so that it'll water our crops. We have centuries of history here, some good, some bad. Some days we are making history for our children. We are teaching them that in order to survive and thrive in Taos, our community needs to change without forgetting our culture and our traditions that need to be preserved and passed down as we face the challenges that the world presents us with. Together, we can keep Taos a place that our kids are proud of, where they will live and raise their families and carry on those special traditions. Experience matters. My leadership within the town has brought millions of dollars to Taos. We keep our community safe and informed through a pandemic, including supporting our hospital and local businesses. Together, we put every effort into saving lives. If re-elected for mayor of Taos, I will continue to serve by listening and finding opportunities to improve lives of all Taoseños. Vote Dan Barrone for mayor.
All right, thank you, Mayor Barrone. Pascual.
First, let me say thank you to the Taos News, to the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this opportunity for the voters to meet the candidates. And thank you to my supporters and volunteers who have made this campaign fun, exciting, and something to vote for, not just against. And finally, thank you to my wife, Leandra, who has had to endure the public spotlight and scurrilous rumors that seem to have no place in campaigns for elected office. Without your love and support, I would not have the strength or endurance to take on such a challenge like running for mayor. Tonight, you've all had a chance to hear from us about what we've done and what we plan to do if you give us the opportunity to serve you. You heard about the amount of money invested during the last 8 years, but the proof is in the pudding. How much of that investment has impacted you? The truth is, every administration will bring in money. What sets administrations apart is how it gets spent. This election is important. And if elected, I will reduce the power of the mayor, not just for myself, but for the mayors that come after me, in order to create a government that is more responsive and accountable. Again, I'm not interested in gaining power for myself, but to use it responsibly and for the benefit of our community. You know that decisions made by the town of Taos has an effect on all members of our community, not just in-town residents. Nationally, we're seeing the effect of voter suppression as we fight to preserve our democracy in the face of looming fascism. You have heard of some proposals to be more inclusive, but I'm the only candidate trying to strengthen our local democracy by giving more community members the right to vote. I would like to remind you tonight the pattern we have seen during the past 8 years. During the Cows pasture debacle, the Taos News discovered a series of actions taken by the Barrone-Bellis administration to change the face of the downtown without the public's knowledge or approval. The change in the code to allow 4-story hotels was made behind closed doors with a developer waiting in the wings. Once brought before council, the votes were already in. We're seeing this pattern play out again before our very eyes as the pieces are slowly put into place to turn our airport into a Part 139 commercial airport without an airport master plan that has been seen by the public or even approved by the council. Let me state clearly, I am not against the airport. What I adamantly disagree with is the process, which excludes the public from what would be a major change to our community. Do you want 4 more years of this? If you don't, if you want to see the town of Taos be a regional partner and collaborator, if you want the focus of investment to be on local residents, and if you want a government that you can trust, I ask you to vote for me this election. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Pasquale. Genevieve, closing statement, 3 minutes.
So I disagree with some of the things I hear, and I also won't forget the last 4 years and the last 2 years. One of the reasons I'm here tonight is because during the deep pandemic, I was so disheartened by how our town was treating homeless people. I had the misfortune of witnessing a homeless person defecate on a public property, and I, like others, had to clean up defecation on our business properties. When I called my council members, I was told repeatedly, well, we've reduced the budget. The budget is down 20%. We're not making as much money. We can't do it. And that, to me, that's disgraceful. When the people in your community have less and you can do something for them, it's your responsibility to do more. I did a little research based on the information that was being told to me, and I found that our resources weren't down. Our gross receipts taxes were not down 20%. We were only down 6 or 7%. And we could have made some adjustments in the way that we were staffing to keep that restroom open for people who deserve the dignity to use the restroom in private. Now, what Pasquale said, that it's not about the revenue you bring in, but it's about the revenue you spend, I disagree. One of my disappointments with this current administration is that none of our elected officials bring ideas to the table about how to generate real revenue for our community. The sums that come in from the concerts are nominal. It's about $1 million a year. And yes, when you're working with a small budget of about 10 million for general costs, that's 10%. But we have opportunities. When we reduce the number of short-term rentals in our community from 600 to 100, a huge portion of those rentals went onto the midterm market. We have about 400 midterm rentals in our community right now. Roswald just instated a policy that enables them to tax those midterm rentals, and that money does not have to go to lodgers tax. It can be earmarked for whatever fees the town wants to use it. So like I've said before, we have an opportunity with the marijuana sales. We have an opportunity now with our midterm rentals, and we can see other opportunities. I'm also very disappointed with Councilman Maestas' platform point that he's going to extend the voting rights into the ETZ. For one, the ETZ is defunct and would have to be reinstated. And the second point is it's the state law that determines voting rights. So that would have to be brought up to the state. And I don't know if he hasn't done his research or if he's just sharing this information for the sake of getting votes. It's disappointing to me. Now, I know for a fact I have more in common with these men than I do differences. None of us wants to see any more kids fall through the cracks. And none of us wants to be priced out of this town or be the reason that our family, friends, and neighbors are. And none of us wants to see Taos turn into Anywhere USA. We all love Taos. I'm for a livable Taos.
Genevieve, we're out of time. Do you want to finish that sentence? I'll let you finish.
Yeah, you can
Okay.
find out more about me at my website, goformayor.com, or you can come to my town hall tomorrow night and can register there. I encourage everyone to vote in the
All right.
upcoming election.
Thank you, Genevieve. Thank you all so much for your time this evening. We almost made perfect time. It's 7:33. We decided to end at 7:30. Really appreciate you guys spending the time to answer these questions and try to help inform our voting public. So a reminder for everybody who is eligible to vote, early voting starts February 1st and the election is March 1. If you are going to vote for the first time or you're eligible to vote for the first time, congratulations. It's a great right to have in this country, and we hope that you exercise it. We'll be producing a special section sometime in February with more information on the candidates. And next week, a week from tonight, January 31st, 5:45, we'll also be having a forum for our town council candidates. And with that, I wish you all a great night. Thank you to everyone who watched this evening. Good night.